Dear learners, welcome to this topic Biological Hazards, Plant and Plant Products. This forms a part of the course MEV 002 Environmental and Occupational Hazards. I introduce myself as Dr. Sushmita Bhaskar, working in the discipline of Environmental Studies in the School of Interdisciplinary and Transdisciplinary Studies, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. So you might have noticed while going out, if you're near a tree or a plant, or even when you consume certain plant and plant products, you have some kind of an allergy or an allergy reaction. Sometimes you may have certain skin disorders that may result in dermatitis. It can also cause certain kinds of eczema. In some cases you can even have stomach aches and gastrointestinal upset, and sometimes it can also have certain serious consequences. So let us now understand how plant and plant products can also be one type of a biological hazard. The objectives, learning objectives. After reading this module and listening to this module, you should be able to explain the various hazards that are caused by plant and plant products, describe the allergies caused by plant toxins and algal toxins to human beings as well as to the livestock. Now many plants, they contain latex or gum, for example the rubber plant. The same way resins or saps also come out of certain plants. For example, we make this maple syrup from the maple plant, and this actually takes a lot of time for that syrup to be collected. You hang a bucket under that after boring that tree, and if you hang a bucket, it takes a lot of time for that resin or the sap to actually get collected, and then that maple syrup can be used for garnishing cakes or certain other delicacies. And in the same way, there are many other plants that produce latex, gum, or like as I said, the resin or the saps. Some may have an irritant action on our skin or on our system. Such plants and plant products also fall in the category of biological hazards because they can cause mild to severe infections and diseases in the human beings. Some examples include, for example, the gardeners and landscapers and nursery workers. They are always exposed to plants. If you see, they'll always be doing the crop rotation and making the soil a bit loosening of the soil, and they use their hands and the fingers because that is most conducive for them to work. And all this can initiate certain allergic responses. Even sometimes they may have certain respiratory and asthmatic conditions, allergic reactions. Cactus plant. This is able to store large amounts of water. They are specifically found in the drought prone areas or where there is insufficient water supplies. So this cacti, they have spikes. You would have seen this cacti which has spikes. They are extremely irritant and they can even sometimes have the tumor promoting effect on the skin. Parthenium allergy, this is very common. Now parthenium is actually an unwanted weed, and this sometimes even degrades an entire landscape, an entire area, and they are found to grow in large numbers. And once even if you go by the side of the field which has parthenium, you will find that your skin immediately starts, you have these goosebumps and irritations and reddening of the skin, even eyes sometimes start burning. All this is due to the allergic reactions caused by these parthenium plant and flowers. So this weed alone, it produces 3000 million pollen grains per square meter during the flowering season. They may cause reactions, allergic reactions like asthma, skin rashes, eczema, puffy eyes, peeling of the skin, running nose, swelling of the skin, and also itching of the mouth and the nose. Now contact with the plant also can cause dermatitis and respiratory malfunction in the humans. Even when you have a contact with the cattle or with the livestock in a house, for example farmers and in the agricultural sector, then again they are able to contract certain diseases and biological hazards. So in this thing, the main component that is toxic and which is causing the allergic reaction is named as parthenin, and it is also responsible for the bitter milk disease in the livestock when the fodder is polluted with the parthenium leaves. That is why sometimes it is better to take the pasteurized milk, because at least pasteurization kills most of the bacteria and the biological organisms. But whereas if the milk is just taken as such from the udder of the cow and then transported, then such kind of things where the fodder is polluted with the parthenium leaves or any other toxicant, then the milk can be bitter and it can cause certain allergic reaction for the people who are consuming the same. So parthenium has become a menace worldwide. Maybe we can control them with mechanical methods, allelopathy, chemical, biological control methods. We can use bioherbicides, nematodes, snails, and certain other competitive plants also to control these harmful weeds. Trees and allergies. So have you ever wondered that even trees can also bring about allergies among people? Yes. Carpenters, polishers and the painters, they are exposed to fine dust from wood. So here they may be exposed to the wood from shisham, from the rosewood, from sandalwood, from the teak, from the red mahogany and so on. So common trees can also cause certain allergies to the skin. All this depends upon the metabolism of a person, the allergic reactions that a person is having. So these trees can include the western red cedar, acacia, ash, birch, maple, mahogany, pine and spruce. Some more examples like the allergy from the birch. In this figure you can see the birch trees. They grow throughout the continental United States except in the southernmost and the westernmost states, and their pollen trigger the allergies. They are planted in yards and other landscaping. It causes sneezing and allergies when you go through this forested area. Certain other plants and the trees that can cause allergy you can see in these beautiful pictures: the elm, the cedar, the oak, the pine, ragweed, bluegrass, Bermuda grass. That is even in the lawn grass, if it has the Bermuda grass or the bluegrass, then when you get up from you start immediately have a kind of an itching or skin irritation. It's because of the grass variety. Again nettle, then the sagebrush, and there are still so many trees and the plants which can cause allergic reactions among humans. Dermatosis. So dermatosis generally means, like you can see in this picture, there is a redness of the skin and an irritation. Now the allergic contact dermatitis constitutes 20 to 25% globally, and irritant contact dermatitis, this constitutes 70 to 80%. So often we would have seen that something is itching me, I have some itching problem. It may not be anything serious, but then we tend to think that maybe internally there is some big upset has occurred. So it could be contact urticaria, other infections, it could be psoriasis, paronychia, then photosensitivity, because even UV light, the photolytic reactions, that can also trigger certain plants and animals to bring about certain reactions on the skin. Then you can have acne, depigmenting disorders where you have the light and the dark shading of the skin occurs. Then there can also be occupational dermatosis when you are exposed to certain leaves, vegetables, fruits, flowers, garden dust and so on. Now, contact with certain plants, materials and even fungi, they can cause the stinging and allergic reactions. Like example, the farmer's lung, the mushroom worker's lung, they have a specific problem in the lungs. And then bagasosis, which occurs in the sugarcane industry, irritant and allergic contact dermatitis. Let us see some examples. Occupational asthma. It refers to the development of asthma following exposure to a known occupational sensitizer. And in this case, there is an evidence of an elevated level of immunoglobulin E, IgE, and the relevant occupational allergen. So that is why the doctors normally sometimes they give you Allegra or some anti-allergic pill, because they say that it is an autoimmune disorder and it will go off on its own. So sometimes if you are not exposed to that occupation, if you are able to change the occupation and not exposed to that dust or the fiber, then that may give you some relief. And the flower, grain dust, wood dust, all this can be a cause of the occupational asthma. Byssinosis. This occurs in the industrial workers who are working in the cotton industry. Inhalation of the cotton fiber dust over long periods of time. This can cause chronic cough, then dyspnea. It can end in chronic bronchitis, emphysema, etc. And India has a large textile industry. We have the Manchester of India, which is in Mumbai, the Manchester of South India, which is located in Coimbatore, and so we have a large textile industry which employs nearly 35% of the factory workers. The incidence is reported to be 7 to 8% in 3 independent surveys. That was a research that was carried out in Mumbai, Ahmedabad as well as in Delhi. And you can also see in this figure the scale of classification, whether it is from grade 0 to grade 3, and the symptoms, how the chest becomes tight, and how the bronchitis and all other stages accompany and progress in the later stages. In the same way, bagasosis. This is also an occupational disease of the lung that is caused by inhalation of bagasse or the fine sugarcane dust. Now this was first reported in India by Ganguly and Pal in 1955 in a cardboard manufacturing firm, and that was near Calcutta. India has a large sugarcane industry, and the sugarcane fiber, which until now went to waste, now because of all these problems, people are recycling this and using it in the manufacture of paper, cardboard as well as rayon. So here again there are certain microorganisms, thermophilic microorganisms that can bring about the fermentation process, and then it can also bring about this problem of the bagasosis. Farmer's lung. So here in this picture you can see a large storehouse and place where the grains are actually stored. It could be wheat, it could be rice grains, it could be the gram, the kidney beans and so on. So here again the farmers can be exposed to the inhalation of the moldy hay and the grain dust. So here if there is a certain amount of moisture content of more than 30%, then bacteria and fungi can start attacking, they can grow, and they can cause a rise of temperature to even 40 to 50 degrees Celsius. This heat will encourage the growth of other certain thermophilic actinomycetes, which is a group between the bacteria as well as the fungi. And this one important cause of the farmer's lung disease is the actinomycetes Micropolyspora fanis. Then there are respiratory symptoms. There could be physical signs that could involve the pulmonary fibrosis, lung damage, right heart failure, which also can lead to congestive heart failure. It could be widespread in India and the population who are engaged in the agricultural work. Natural plant toxins. So far we discussed certain plant products, the trees, all that which are allergic, and also the occupational hazards due to the workers who are working with the plant products. Now we go to natural plant toxins. So can you even imagine that even by eating a tomato or a brinjal, even that also may sometimes inherently may contain certain toxins, and we are consuming it without our knowledge. So these are present naturally in plants such as in fruits and vegetables. Then some phytochemical and secondary metabolites that are produced by plants, they can be toxin like substances, and they can cause the health problems in the humans. Some examples: the plant toxins include the alkaloids like the pyrrolizidine alkaloids, the glycoalkaloids, cyanogenic glycosides, lectins, saponins, and also the anti-nutrients. Natural toxins in food. So this can cause a wide variety of adverse health effects and pose serious health threat to both humans and livestock. Some toxins are extremely potent. They can cause acute poisoning, allergic reactions, severe gastrointestinal upset, diarrhea, and even death. The long-term health issues, they may attack your immune system, reproductive nervous system, and also result in certain cancers. A scientific expert committee that was jointly convened by the World Health Organization and the FAO, that is a Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, called the JECFA. This is the international body which is responsible for evaluating the health risk from natural toxins in food. Then there are certain international codes and the standards of practice to limit the exposure to natural toxins from foods. These are established by the Codex Alimentaris Commission based on this international body for assessment. So what are the natural toxins? They are toxic compounds. They are naturally produced by the living organism. While they may not be harmful to them for the plant themselves, but they may be toxic to other creatures including humans when they are eaten. Why do they produce them? It is basically actually for a self-defense. They produce this so that they are able to protect themselves from the natural predators, insects or microorganisms, and they can prevent attack from the same. And that is also related to climate stress. Algae and plankton. So the toxins can be found in the algae and plankton in the oceans. They produce a chemical compounds, and this can be toxic to humans. The shellfish or the fish can eat the algae and the plankton. To them it will not be toxic. But when human beings consume these fishes or the shellfish, then these contain the toxins because they are biomagnified, and then the illness can rapidly follow. The algal toxins and aquatic biotoxins. Here in this figure you can see the shellfish. So they are normally prepared as such, and then you need to take the mussel or the oyster part from the shell, and then it is eaten. The toxins are formed by the algae in the ocean waters and in the fresh waters, and they are normally generated during the blooms of the particular naturally occurring algal species. The shellfish such as scallops, then the mussels, then the oysters, they contain them commonly. This can cause diarrhea, vomiting, then certain neurological paralysis kind of syndromes like tingling of your hands, toes and the feet, and other mammals and fishes also can be affected by consuming these toxins. Ciguatera fish poisoning, this is very important, and the fishes that are contaminated with the dinoflagellates, they can produce the ciguat toxins. Fishes such as the barracuda, black grouper, dog snapper, king mackerel can harbor them. In this figure, this is the mackerel species. And when human beings consume these fishes, then you may end up with nausea, vomiting and certain neurological symptoms, and so far till date there is no treatment for the Ciguatera poisoning. Cyanogenic glycosides. In this picture, this is that of the cassava, and in many of the tropical areas, also in the Asian and the African countries, people consume a lot of cassava and the cassava flour in their delicacies. So the phytotoxins occur in at least 2000 plant species. Cassava, sorghum, the stone fruits, bamboo roots and almonds are very important foods that contain these glycosides. This will also produce a concentration of cyanide which is toxic to the human beings. And at a long-term scale, the acute cyanide intoxication can occur, and that will lead to rapid respiration, a drop in blood pressure. It can cause dizziness, headache, stomach pains, vomiting, diarrhea, mental confusion, twitching, convulsions and terminal coma. Then finally, death can occur due to the cyanide poisoning. Furocomarins. This figure shows that of a grapefruit. These are present in plants, specifically the parsnips. Parsnips are related to carrots and parsley. Then you find them in the celery roots, lemon, lime, in grapefruit, bergamot and some medicinal plants. And these toxins are released due to stress by the plant in response to stress or the physical damage. Mainly the symptoms include gastrointestinal problems, skin reaction and the dermatitis. Lectins. All of you eat rajma chawal and rajma. So this is a figure of the kidney beans. Many types of beans contain toxins called as lectins, and the kidney beans have the highest concentration. So that is why, and especially the red kidney beans. So that is why it is very important that these kidney beans are soaked for more than 12 to 15 hours, and then after that it is boiled also very well, maybe for 15 to 30 minutes, so that all the toxins can be removed. And also the water that is soaked, though they say that that is rich in all the nutrients and vitamins and minerals, but then to help us and protect us from these toxins called lectins, it is better that we throw away that water and again use a fresh set of water when we boil the beans. Severe stomachache, vomiting and diarrhea can be produced by the lectin toxins. The next is mycotoxins. This may be very familiar to you. They are toxins that are produced by some mold and mold species. And you can even see in the bread, if you keep it for 2-3 days, the mold starts developing on that. Again, the temperature is one important factor, moisture is an important factor for these to grow. So numerous foodstuffs, you may be having the muesli and all that. So if the cereals are not dried properly and preserved properly, then the dried cereals, the dry fruits, nuts and spices, all can be contaminated with the mycotoxins. Even when the storage of the grains in the storehouse area, in the warehouses, there also warm, damp and humid conditions can induce the formation of the mycotoxins. These are chemically stable and they can survive the food processing, and severe illnesses, they can also induce immune deficiency and certain types of cancers. So you need to be careful while consuming these foods. Finally, there are some more which are solanins and the caconins. Solanins and the caconins, these are they encompass those which come under the Solanaceae plants like the potatoes, the tomatoes, eggplants. They contain the natural toxins and they are also known as the glycoalkaloids. The higher concentrations are normally found in the potato sprouts and the green tomatoes. Potato sprouts are those green leafy areas that are coming out from the potato. So that is why again when you have the potatoes and when you find that your potatoes are actually germinating, it is better to cut off that portion, throw it off and take the other part. Because these plants produce the toxins in response to stress like bruising due to damage, due to UV light and microorganism and the pest attack and the herbivores. The control could be storing the potatoes in a dark, cool and dry place and avoid eating the green or the sprouting parts of the potatoes. Poisonous mushrooms. Okay, mushrooms are very tasty to eat, but we should know the button mushroom, the other oyster mushrooms, the normal mushrooms, you should know which type of mushroom is safe for the consumption. Wild mushrooms can contain several toxins like the muscimol and muscarine. They can cause vomiting, diarrhea, confusion, visual disturbances, salivation and also hallucinations. And normally the symptoms occur within 6 hours to 24 hours or more after ingestion of these mushrooms. And we can also have fatal poisoning when there can be severe effects on the liver, kidney and the nervous system. Cooking and peeling will also not inactivate these toxins. That is a very important fact to be noted. It is recommended to avoid the wild mushrooms unless the Food and Safety Organization has identified them as non-poisonous and safe to consume them. Now, pyrrolizidine alkaloids, these are another set of toxins that are produced by 600 plant species. The plant sources include the Boraginaceae, Asteraceae and Fabaceae. Most of these seeds, now even under the Fabaceae, your normal green peas also come under this family. Many of these are weeds that can grow in the fields and they contaminate the food crops. They cause adverse health effects and they can be toxic, and the main concern with these alkaloids is they have the DNA damaging potential. So, they can cause mutagenic effects leading to cancers and mutations. So, now that we have understood all the type of the plant toxins, trees and how the trees can also cause certain kinds of allergies, how can we protect ourselves from the same? To minimize the health risk from natural toxins in food, people are normally advised to not consume anything if it is something that is always natural and it is always considered as safe. Discard the damaged and the discolored food, moldy food, it is better to throw them away. Discard food that has a stale odor and that has unusual taste, and you need to consume mushrooms and also other fish species only when it is marketed, I would not say marketed, but when it is processed and preserved well, and it has that food safety label on it, that it is safe for consumption and it has been evaluated by these safety parameters, and when they are identified as non-poisonous. Because sometimes when we just go to the market and when we select them on our own, even the vendor who is selling it to us, and even when we buy the same, we may not know whether it is safe or unsafe for human consumption. Risk assessment is very important. So, the WHO in collaboration with the FAO is responsible for assessing the risk to humans of natural toxic through contamination in food and also for recommending the adequate protections. So, the risk assessment is done by the joint FAO and the WHO expert committee on the food additives, and they are used by the governments and also the Codex Alimentarius Commission. These are the intergovernmental standards setting body for food. They establish the maximum levels in food, they provide the risk management advice to control and prevent the contamination. So, they advise us and they give us the warnings as to which food is safe for consumption. Codex standards are the international reference for national food supplies and for trade in food, so that people globally can be confident that the food they buy meets the standards for safety and quality no matter in which country or where it was produced. So, giving a summary of this module, we have understood in this module the various plant and the plant products that can contain certain kinds of toxins, and also the trees and certain the tree reactions. For example, the flowers or the leaves of certain trees can also cause certain allergic reactions and dermatitis. Toxins, especially, we have also seen certain classes like the alkaloids or the certain other varieties of mycotoxins, the algal toxins, aquatic biotoxins, all this which can be harmful for the human consumption, even the Ciguatera fish poisoning. So, all these are poisonous toxins, though they may not be toxic for the plant themselves, but they are releasing this in response to a stress due to climate change, due to bruising, due to the predators, due to microorganisms and the attack from the same. So, the risk assessment forms a very important part, and there are the standard international bodies and the international reference for the national food supplies and for trade in food who set up standards, so that the world over people are safe and they know which food is safe for their consumption, for healthy living and for quality consumption of the quality food products. Thank you for your patient listening.